Unknown to most of us, there's been a I don't even know how to say this. There's been a challenge on our democracy, led by Oldham Council, involving Sean Fielding and his girlfriend Sophie Holworth, also involving the police. They have attempted to silence free speech. Absolutely scandalous what they tried. Of course they failed, but the fact that these people tried this, the fact that these people tried to silence people who stand against the grooming and gang rape of our town's children is beyond belief.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Arood Shah, Abdul Jabbar, Sean Fielding, Shisha Bars, Riaz Ahmed, Buying Sweets, Chohan and Mushtaq, Land on the Cheap, Dr. Carolyn Wilkins, Under Attack, Another No Comment, Shabir Ahmed, Glodic Baths, Debbie Kashmir, On the Run, Don't Dare Complain, They'll Call You a Racist Son. The cartels control the postal votes and the paedophiles run free. Welcome to Oldham, home to corrupt councillors and their childhood criminal friends. And in control of it all, at the top of the tree, Jim McMahon, the samosa nibbling MP. Still silent on how he used the funeral of the butchered soldier, Lee Rigby. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Cartel Town. Grooming gangs. Postal vote fraud. Paedophile protectors. Still barefaced lies? Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Good evening. Thank you very, very much to all of you who got in touch with me last week and on Facebook and wished my daughter a happy birthday. I enjoyed the Sunday off. I spent my time playing with a 6-year-old, so it was a lovely evening. And for those who got in touch with me and wanted to know what the show was, I'm really, really sorry. I did mention it to everyone, but I probably should have mentioned it in the week before the transmission. Whilst I've been gone, a couple of updates for you. You'll see a supporters badge link appear at the top of the Facebook page. For those of you who can't, please click on that and become a supporter. I'm trying to switch from Patreon directly onto Facebook for a number of reasons. But one is most of our interactions are on Facebook. We have over 3,000 people now who follow this page, and tens of thousands who listen to these broadcasts in one way or another. So I'd really appreciate any support you can by clicking on that link. And for those of you who are fearful of Oldham Council checking on my supporters and then sending emails to your employers like Sean Fielding did on his official capacity as leader of the Oldham Council, and trying to get you in trouble, for which he is now in trouble, please, there's an anonymous donating sort of link in at the top of this. That's buy me a coffee. All of this is checked, and none of your credit cards or anything like that are at risk. These are tried and tested platforms. So if you can't subscribe to the page at the top, please click and spend a couple of pounds in trying to keep these transmissions going for as long as we can keep them going. And what I ask to everyone who can't in any way support me financially, please like the page, share the page, follow the page, do all those simple things, which is actually what's got us as far as we've come. And I'm going to start on this and then we'll carry on coming back to this later. But the police have confirmed that CSE reports, CSE crimes, you know, the rape of our children. They have confirmed, Mads Hussein has confirmed that a file has been prepared and submitted to the CPS. And from my understanding of reading the quote from the Assistant Chief Constable, it's very clear to me that there are multiple cases now with the CPS. I think all of us would join urging the CPS. We've had enough of the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. We've had enough of you covering for Cyril Smith and covering for Jimmy Savile and covering for hundreds, if not thousands, of members of the grooming gangs. It's time the CPS did their job and arrested and allowed the police, instructed the police that there is a criminal case here and these people should be arrested. I'm just looking across, I'll load the widget up and I'll say some quick hellos to people. So if you give it a couple of seconds, I can see it's already it's already very busy in that. So good evening to many. Good evening, Paul, Caroline, Nicola, Anita, how you doing? Dougie, Mark, Yvonne, I know many of you are supporters and I'm really, really grateful. Amanda Williams, not heard from you in a while, Amanda or Richard, but it's good to see you all. Good to see some familiar faces. And Moyab says, hi, Rabble. Moyab, do call me in. I had a great time not last week, the week before. And people said we were like a double act. I'm happy with the equivalent of a cannon and ball sort of equivalent for 21st version of our town. I'm happy with that. But it was entertaining. I found last week, the week before last, actually really, really entertaining. And the reason I found it entertaining was, of course, this man, Stephen Bashworth, Councillor Stephen Bashworth. I have nothing to hide. I have never taken or even been offered a bribe. Neither have I even been accused of taking one. And he goes on, and he went on. To try and answer on that site would be futile. Yes, Stephen. It's telling that nobody on this site ever seems to ask for evidence. Well, I think it's very, very clear by now. That not only did I ram the evidence down Stephen's, and I think it's very, very obvious as well that the council, as well as protecting those that groom and gang rape our children, the council, as well as protecting their fellow councillors and people who work in the council, who are paedophiles, convicted child sex offenders, they're also involved in covering up for Bashworth and his bribes. Because that's what those allegations are, aren't they, Bashworth? You walked out with a barrel of beer and you claimed it was on a sale or return. Now, what ordinarily should have happened, Bashworth? You should have been arrested. But in this bent town, of course you're not going to be arrested. What's a councillor taking a bribe in this bent town? Bashworth? Come on. What else was that? Yeah? You left with a barrel of beer claiming sale or return. Now, if it wasn't a bribe, like I said last time, you're a bootlegger and you should be arrested for that. And for the email you shared from Lewis Greenwood from the council, well, as well as you being investigated, everyone else in that email should be investigating for covering up of a bribe or an allegation of a bribe. However you want to dress it up, Bashworth, you have questions to answer, and only in a bent town do you get away with something like that. Let's get through this week. So this petition, we're now at well over 1,000, by the way. But it's been interesting to see what happened with this petition whilst in the last 2 weeks since I was last here. Now, first of all, Sean Fielding, being the numpty he is, got in touch and responded to Anita. I can't believe there are nearly 1,000 people who think that the only way to get somebody arrested is to sign an online petition. Quite worrying. The citizenship syllabus in schools clearly needs updating. What Sean wouldn't know, and what many of you wouldn't know, is that the citizenship curriculum in schools was designed in the mid to late 90s, particularly when David Blunkett was the Home Secretary, the Education Minister beforehand. And if the DFE still has a whole host of email documents and all of the rest of that, they'll find that I had a role in the designing of the citizenship curriculum. So I know full well what the purpose of a petition is, you numpty. The purpose of a petition is to raise awareness. The purpose of a petition is to put pressure on those who make decisions to make the right decisions because the powerful get away. That's the purpose of a petition. I know full well what the purpose of a petition is. And I think Sean would have to have signed the petition to have made this comment. And this is why we're going to get Moya up in a bit. Raja, instead of wasting your time on this, try rewriting your standards complaint. No, Sean, I'm not going to rewrite a standards complaint when your council is corrupt. They're already being investigated for being corrupt now, Sean, aren't they? So, your council is corrupt. And it's not abusive garbage. You're the one full of abusive garbage. Are you joining your mate on the 10th? I didn't even know what he was referencing when he was talking about, am I joining my mate on the 10th? I had no idea what he was referencing. I actually thought it was a Brian Hoban complaint that the council are trying to stitch up with Councillor Brian Hoban for daring to stand up against them and cover up of child grooming and not sharing the sending the investigation to the Home Office. But no, it seems that the 10th, he was referencing the 10th, and remember, I had no idea what he was on about. It was actually something to do with Mohib, so I'm waiting for Mohib to call in, and the interview mode, he'll pop up at the bottom, and I'll bring up on the screen, and we'll see what happens there. But that's where Sean started with his nonsense. And of course, as night follows day, this guy called Ewan Stewart and his mate Neil Wilby went on the attack. And apparently the petition was starting to lose traction. So I changed the photograph from what I originally attached and removed the name of the subject so you can falsely claim censorship. So I can falsely claim censorship, right? And Wilby, the idiot, joins in. Paul had Wilby right. Brown noser. It's about right, that, Paul. Well done. Here are my emails I received from Change. Change is the petition platform. I would have only have got these emails because someone reported them, because they have petitions up there calling for the arrest of councillors. So they needed to take the name of the councillor out, Councillor Sean Fielding. We're writing to let you know that the information we've included in your petition has been identified as personal information. That's his name, ladies and gentlemen. Personal information is his name. Councillor Sean Fielding, the paedophile protector. And he didn't like his photograph either, did you, Sean? Or maybe your girlfriend complained and said it was harassment. Your 27-year-old girlfriend maybe called in or emailed in to Change. Or maybe a rude Shah did it for you. But we don't know. Here we go, see? So straight away, Change took the photograph off and Change took the name off. And then, they were relentlessly trying to take this petition down. And here is another one, the third of the emails. Apparently his name was in the body of the email as well. But unfortunately, Sean, because Change were brilliant with this, the / the petition name still says, on the internet, the URL address is still Arrest Sean Fielding, isn't it? Arrest Sean Fielding. And in terms of arresting Sean Fielding, 1,100 people, and I've got the full list, majority of them are from our town, 1,100 people have signed a petition calling for the arrest of the paedophile protecting, let me get this right, 1,100 people have called for the arrest of the paedophile protecting leader of Oldham Council. Because that's what you are, Sean. You claimed barefaced lies. You then tried to claim your barefaced lies was actually in reference to something else when it wasn't, because it was clearly evident what you were referring to. And now, the police have submitted a file, and it's sat in front of the CPS of paedophiles that have raped our children in our town and have gotten away with it for so long. We'll see, won't we, Sean? We'll see what your council has been up to. Yeah. Okay, so what else did I want to share with you for this week? They can't help it. Sean Fielding and his mate, I think it's his dad or his uncle, because his uncle followed this account as well. Is it Peter Fielding or whatever his uncle's called? They can't help themselves. So they created this account on Twitter. And actually, in all seriousness, I'm due in court as a witness next week. So, or the week after. I'm due in court imminently, actually, as a witness. And it's very serious. So the reference to where I live, as far as I'm concerned, is witness intimidation. This was an account set up clearly. At the time it was set up to say, we know where you live, Raja. We know where you live. And this is what you look like. So here you go. I'm not scared of any one of you. Because we reported it, I reported it, and look what happened. It got taken off. Now, I'm very, very clear on this. I am very, very clear that Twitter account and its followers and the ones before to do with Oldham and the Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth stuff, which also got thrown off and took off. I am 100% clear that all of these can be linked back to Sean Fielding and Oldham Council in one way or another. They followed these accounts, remember? They were the first ones, Sean Fielding was one of the first people to follow an account that was just been created. That doesn't happen by accident. No. Fielding, you've been engaged in a systematic campaign of harassment, intimidation, and malicious communication whilst holding public office. Not only do we want you arrested, we want you put in prison. And that's not just me. That's thousands of us in this town. We want an example made out of a corrupt, paedophile protecting politician, and we want him put in prison. And don't think your mate Jim McMahon's going to save you. Angela Rayner's definitely not going to save you. Her career's worth too much. And Jim's running as fast as he can because the world now knows what the benefits are of going to mosques and nibbling on samosas. And as for Debbie Cashmere, she's run a mile, mate. She's already run a mile. She wants nothing to do with you. Checking the messages. Chuck away the key. Yeah, we if only. Okay, now moving on. You'll remember last time we were on, we talked we had Debbie on as well, and we talked about how we had the police turn up to a house and intimidate her. I don't think there's any other way of describing it. Two police officers turned up to her house and tried to intimidate her and tell her that she shouldn't go back to Sean Fielding's house to protest, even though you can lawfully protest outside people's houses, as we're about to find out. But this is what's happened since. And most of you will not know about this, or if you know about this, you've not seen the details. So let me bring the details up. Oldham Council letterheaded paper. Debbie Cole had an injunction application put against her by Oldham Council on behalf of Sophie Holworth. Remember, Sophie Holworth has absolutely nothing to do with the council. She's not a council employee. She is the 27-year-old girlfriend. Remember, 27-year-old girlfriend. So that's what happened. Okay? And this is, let me just play this video of how it played out when Debbie was doing what she was doing outside his house. Now remember, she went outside his house at the last full council meeting because she was under the impression that Sean Fielding was working from home, as he has been led us all to believe. He's working from home, and all the council officers were working from home, blah, blah, blah. And all the council meetings, they're all dialing in from home, hence there were virtual meetings in the way they were. And she went outside his house to protest, and this is how it played out at the council meeting time.
Now, something else which I wasn't going to refer to until I received a call earlier this evening from my partner, who is a 27-year-old woman who is
27-year-old. Home alone.
We did insert a paragraph in here at the end of paragraph 6 saying, Council acknowledges that the unsubstantiated allegations, personal abuse and criticism directed at members and officers of the council and even members of their families who are not in public life have a negative impact on the mental health and morale of those concerned, particularly given that some members in this chamber and those who hope to be elected to it align themselves to this behaviour. And that point is particularly pertinent, given that some of Councillor Hobin's associates and supporters assembled outside my home this evening, where my 27-year-old female partner is at home alone, and attempted to bully and intimidate and harass her with a megaphone. From across the street. These are the kinds of people that the Conservative group and that Councillor Holbein is supported by and is aligning himself to by bringing this motion forward tonight. It is disgusting.
Absolutely disgraceful, that is. Absolutely disgraceful. Sorry, Madam Mayor.
Right, okay. Councillor.
The other thing is, it isn't the review that's in place now is not independent, will never be classed as independent in my eyes. And then for the leader of this council to align me with people that are doing things outside of here, I'm sat in a meeting at this moment in time, and he's accusing me of aligning with people that are doing things outside my remit and outside of an area that I am. I think it's disgusting that he comes on here and saying that I'm disgusting with the people that I'm associating with. I think you need to take a look at yourself, Councillor Fielding, and everything around you. That what's disgusting is that you won't stand up and let independent people investigate what's going on in this town.
Right.
Point of personal explanation, Madam Mayor. Point of personal explanation.
Yeah.
If Councillor Holbein has a problem with me describing his association, certain people have assembled outside my home this evening, who he has demonstrated associations with both on and off social media, I would invite him to put standards complaint in against me for using that language, and then I will happily provide evidence to back up the description that I use to describe Councillor Holbin, his behaviour and those that he chooses to associate with.
Earlier this evening, Mr. Fielding also accused associates of mine of doing criminal things. I'd like him to name them people if he's got the guts in public.
Right, Councillor Fielding, you have the right to reply.
I don't think there's any more to say, really. Eddie made a very convincing speech as to why it's necessary to amend this. Even if it weren't for the events outside my home this evening, it's an exercise in tidying up the motion, which is poorly drafted. And if Councillor Holbin wants a recorded vote, I'm quite happy to consent to that, because.
So there you have it. Sorry,
therefore he is supportive.
Because the amendment is
Councillor Holbin, please.
Okay, so that's it. Sorry, I was pausing it and I was talking, and I had my I wanted you to hear me out, but I had my actual speaker on mute at the time, my mic on mute at the same time. So my points really were, first of all, do you see how he's hiding behind his girlfriend? Do you see how his narrative right from the beginning was to use the term harassment and all the rest of it in reference to his girlfriend, because he's had his phone call from his 27-year-old girlfriend. 2 times, 3 times he made reference to her. My 27-year-old girlfriend. My 27-year-old girlfriend. And then did you see, and people are putting this up at themselves, Nick's just put it up. Do you see how Ginny Alexander bullied Brian Holbin? Do you see how she bullied him and tried to shut him up, but encouraged the attacks on him? Encouraged Shahid Mushtaq to speak, even though he wasn't supposed to speak. And remember, Shahid Mushtaq is the guy who stood up and accused Debbie Cole of being racist in a full council meeting. And where were you, Ginny Alexander? Did you tell him to shut up? No, did you, heck? You said no such thing, did you? Absolutely disgraceful. And then, as well as his 2-time 27-year-old girlfriend, he's calling Brian for hanging out with criminals. As he took a look in the mirror, he has sat next to him his 2 deputies. One openly has a convicted sex offender sat next to him in meetings. And the other one, Dale Cregan's getaway driver, the other guy who kidnapped a young man, tortured him, sexually abused him with broomsticks and all sorts of stuff. You could let your imagination take you there, because those are the things that happened. And she turns up wearing a Labour Party rosette next to someone convicted of torturing someone. When the police turned up, they found blood splattered all over the walls. And he's lecturing people on convicted criminals or criminals. And of course, Debbie Cole is none of those things. She's a disabled grandmother who's exercising her democratic right to do the things she can do and has every right to do. Let me bring Mayab on. Mayab's in the guest room, so give me 1 second whilst I bring this up. And how you doing, Mayab? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, brilliant. Mayab, in fact, I'm going to have you up whilst I go through some of this stuff. But Mayab, first of all, 10th of December, let's get this out. What on earth is he on about, the 10th of December? Yeah.
This man is an absolute numpty. And those who had had the privilege of reading one of my, well, not quite a weather report, it was a live boxing match report this week, will have seen reference to that. And what I did do was try and set out a narrative of something that had happened each and every day this week. And the 10th is a date where Sean Fielding has complained to the National Liberal Democrats, which we talked about previously.
Oh, yeah, so this is the one where he claimed you're a Nazi, yeah?
Yeah, claimed I'm a Nazi, far right, and all the rest of the rigmarole. Obviously, the all due to the Lib Dems, they investigated it thoroughly. There's one little bit that they wanted to talk to Sean about, and that's about the secret recording he did of himself attending a meeting that Debbie Barrett-Cole did, which is fine, but we need to resolve it. But the fact is, the Lib Dems nationally are actually treating this with respect for Sean and actually going through the process. Yet all the complaints that everybody else has submitted, including myself to the Labour Party, they've not gone anywhere. They've just been dismissed and thrown out. It just shows two different.
It's worse than that, Moab. It's worse than that. You've not even been told what's happened with your complaint. You know, these are the proven racists, yeah? Look at all the Jewish people, right? Who received horrendous abuse. Look at all the women who were, you know, sexually assaulted and harassed by Labour Party politicians. They all complain the same thing about the Labour Party. No, you know, it just disappears into this black hole and they never hear back. So the Labour Party's corrupt. We all know the Labour Party's corrupt. It protects paedophiles, it protects sex offenders, and it protects anti-Semites.
Yeah. And what someone like Sean doesn't realise is, whilst he was gloating to you, asking you about the 10th, something you wouldn't have known about, you're not a Lib Dem party member. You know, we might be friends, but that doesn't mean a share.
No, I didn't know anything about the 10th, and it was clear from the time. I knew nothing about. I thought it was to do with Brian Hogan.
The man is an absolute numpty. If he thinks him complaining to my party is going to scare me off, you know, trying to get me turfed out from my party, let me be absolutely clear for everybody who's listening to this program. You know, I have always voted for a Liberal Democrat. I helped a Liberal Democrat candidate when I was 16 years old, the first time I can remember. There was a bloke who asked for my help, and it sort of escalated from there. And for Sean to make all these allegations, some of them are quite nasty. I mean, if he accuses me of being right-wing, it's acceptable. I'm not right-wing. I'm not left-wing. I'm centre of politics. But if he accuses me of being far-right, that is accusing me of being a Nazi. I mean, the man is just...
And what happened? So what's the 10th about? So the 10th was what?
So the 10th was of all the allegations that Sean has made to the party have been thrown out. And there's one particular element of it that they just want to clarify a bit more. That's the secret recording that Sean Fielding did without my consent or anybody else's consent of the meeting that Debbie Barrett-Cole had late last year. And he accused me of being a secret a supporter of Proud of Oldham and attending a Proud of Oldham meeting and being an agent of Proud of Oldham candidate Debbie Cole. The man's just a numpty. He's a numpty. He's a scumbag, and
he's a paedophile protector. He's a paedophile protector.
My kid's not with me today, so I can say anything today that I want to. He is a paedophile protector. Him and his mates. They need to look at their own. They need to look at themselves, and they need to look at the people that he is helping and supporting, rather than the people of this borough who really need their help. They're more interested in looking after their own positions.
Of course they are, Moab. So on the 10th, you were meant to have a hearing. That's right, yeah?
Absolutely.
And that's what he was making reference to. Am I turning up to this hearing with you? Yeah, that I had no knowledge of.
Something that you wouldn't have known about, or nobody would have known about. Because I didn't tell anybody. And why would I? You know, this is my party. This is my complaint against me to my party. It's an internal party matter. But obviously, him being the complainant, the Lib Dems had invited him to the hearing too. Obviously, it was going to be a Zoom hearing due to COVID, and he was going to have his, shall we say, 10 minutes of fame. But clearly, he'd used that as a reference point to get to you and other people, saying, "Are you going to come with your mate?" And why would you want to come to a Lib Dem meeting? You're a Labour Party member.
No. I've been expelled from the Labour Party, Moab. I've been expelled from the Labour Party 48 hours after I raised a series of serious complaints, including the rape, the grooming and gang rape of children, the electoral fraud, and the sale of Godic baths, and the associations with jihadists and Islamists of a number of Oldham politicians. And the Labour Party expelled me, claiming I was a member of a different political party, which is great, because like you, I have not...
Expelling you from a political party is going to stop us from fighting for the rights of underprivileged kids, underprivileged people who are disadvantaged in this borough, people who need our help and support, people who really need their politicians to stand up for them, as if we're going to stop fighting for them.
I told you I'd go to prison, Moab. They can arrest me, and they have tried, you know? It's not going to work. So on the 10th, this meeting, now what happened about the meeting, Moab? Because the 10th's come and gone, yeah? What's happened?
Right, well, the 10th's come and gone, and Sean, as he was gloating about this meeting, and I was just waiting for him to spill the beans. But, you know, Sean being Sean, he's a leader of the council, but yet he can't stop gloating and just opening his gob, what he shouldn't do. So if someone stuck a broomstick up his backside, that might just stop him actually making all these mistakes. The first thing is, for most people who wouldn't know, I had to then write back to my party, the Liberal Democrats, asking them for an adjournment of the hearing because new information was now available, which I thought was pertinent, that the people on the panel understood and knew before we attended this hearing. And the key thing is, and for everyone in this borough, I have made a complaint to Greater Manchester Police. My statement has been taken, and as far as I'm concerned, Sean Fielding I've got a crime reference number, has committed a crime of malicious communication to my employers and to the Liberal Democrats, and that is being looked at. And what the party have come back and said, the criminal investigation against Sean Fielding takes precedence over his malicious complaint to the Liberal Democrats.
So the Liberal Democrats have adjourned the hearing into you because Sean Fielding is currently being investigated by Greater Manchester Police, and the criminal investigation takes precedence over his nonsense of you're a Nazi.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the things that the man has said has absolutely been false, without merit.
Well, he's a liar, isn't he? He's a liar. He's a barefaced liar.
The fact that he submitted not one but multiple complaints to my employer and couldn't get anywhere. I mean, he's been proven point by point on every single thing he says. He's a liar. He's a standout liar. The man, if he was here, I'd love to slap him across the face, but I think that's not what we need to do. Well,
this is worse, Moyab. So Karen wants to hang Fielding. Now, I don't want Karen, so we're clear, because he'll only run to the police with this, Karen, and make some nonsense up. I don't want Fielding hung. I want Fielding arrested. I want him to be treated like the criminal he is.
He needs to feel the hurt and the harm that he's put across other people right across this borough. I'm being a politician for 10 years, serving 3 terms in the council. I can take the heat. You know, once one Labour councillor said to me, and I'd only been on the council the first few months, still a young lad at the time, he goes, well, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Well, Mr. Fielding, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, mate.
Well, it gets worse for Fielding,
I can't stand the heat, and I'm here, and I will remain here, and I will see to it that you are properly investigated for your criminal actions against myself and other various individuals in this borough.
Not investigated, punished.
Yeah, but first stage is to be punished. Obviously, at the current moment in time, it's the final charging decisions will have to be made by the Crown Prosecution Service. We appreciate that. But what I'm saying is, we will see this till the end. Sean Fielding, if you're listening to this program, I know you are, and all your friends are, and all your criminal friends are as well. I'll tell you what, mate, I'm not going anywhere. You know who I am. You know where I live. You know where I work. You know everything about me. But I'll tell you what, I'm not going away. We will fight together. We may not have the power as you, we may not have the power of the office of the leader of the council. What we do have is righteousness on our side, and we have the power of the people on our side too. So scumbags like you will be seen to by the law.
Moyab, you ready for this? Absolutely scandalous, and you know about this.
No, don't throw things at me again.
No, you've not seen any of this. You know about this, but you've not seen any of this.
I might have seen it. Well, it was surprising. Somebody messaged me after last week's show and said, Moib, you and Raja were like Anton Dek. I said, you're like the Bengali version of Anton Dek. So I don't know if ActTV want to sign us up or anything, but... Hey, Raja, put a shirt on for you as well. You know,
you put a shirt on? Well, I'd like to say I've had a shower. So maybe, maybe. Let me put this up. Mike, let's work our way through this, right? So first of all, Oldham Council are trying to take an injunction out on Debbie, okay? And they wrote to her last Friday. In fact, a man tried to serve her the papers last Friday, okay? And you can see the application is brought under Part 1 of the Antisocial Behaviour Crime and Policing Act 2014, okay? So that's what they tried to do. You can see the Oldham Council letter, the only thing I've deleted out or blocked out is Debbie's home address. You can see that, yeah? Interestingly, the cowards, because that's what they are, don't even sign it. Do you see? Yeah? Yours faithfully, Legal Services. And this is the actual, you can see the county court document to Debbie, yeah? Case number Oldham. So it's between Oldham Council, right? And it's for engaging in threatening or conduct capable of causing harassment, alarm, distress. Sean Fielding or Sophie Holworth. Why on earth are Oldham Council, because she's not done anything to Sean Fielding, so it's clearly linked to Sophie Holworth. Why on earth are they doing this, the council? They wouldn't do this for any one of us. They would not do this for any one of us. So Sophie Holworth. So this is her statement, and I'll go through it. She likes this. They all like this. I am 27-year-old and I live at the above address with my partner Sean Fielding. And the address, 105 Kew Road, it's on his declaration of interest, and the police made reference to it in the Facebook Live last week or a couple of weeks before. So his address is a matter of public knowledge. There's no harassment intended by me by sharing an address that is already in the public domain, because we know he'll try that. So here she goes. She was home alone. Do you see the repetitive nature of what Sean Fielding? I was sat downstairs in the lounge when I heard shouting and screaming coming from outside my house. She was scared, but wanted to see what was happening. I didn't want to be seen looking out the window, so I went upstairs to look out of the box room as the curtains were open and the light off. I looked outside and I could clearly see a female with a megaphone stood over the road. So straight away she's confirming Debbie Cole was stood on the other side of the road 20 feet away from her house with a megaphone. What were you scared of? She was wearing dark clothing, but you recognise her. She wasn't wearing a mask or anything like that. So she had a mask on, but she wasn't wearing a balaclava. You recognised her. Okay? Sean, and you clearly heard Debbie through the megaphone saying, Sean Fielding covers up sexual abuse. I think many people would agree with that. Do you know your neighbour covers up sexual abuse? Do you know that Oldham Council paid for that CCTV? I'll come back again. I won't go away. What part of that was Sophie Holworth, I'm going to come and get you? None of that, was it? Some of the neighbours went out. Yeah. Sergeant Garside from the police. I felt scared as I was alone at home and a group of people that I don't know were outside. I was frightened as I don't know what they would do. I didn't know what they were capable of or their intentions. I saw a car arrive and 2 police officers get out of the car in full uniform. I felt relieved that this would now stop and that she would be moved away or arrested. I saw the police speaking to her. Whilst this was going on, I was still on the phone to Sergeant Garside. I'll get to Sergeant Garside in a minute. He told me that she wasn't there for me. It was Sean she was interested in, and that if I went outside and proved to her that I was in and that Sean wasn't, then she would leave. I didn't feel safe doing this, even though the police were there. Okay? So Maya, get this. I'm going to put you back on the screen. So, right. You are a 27-year-old woman, right? You're scared in your house because of a disabled grandma rocks up with a megaphone, right? The police tell you why she's there for, because she's shouting about Sean Fielding, right? And the police car turns up with actually not 2, but 3 police officers, according to, 3 big police officers turn up and you're scared in the house. Sorry, I know what I would have done. I know what any female or anyone I know, they would have got, when the police arrived, I would have gone out and spoken to the police. But no, absolutely not. What a nonsense. What absolute nonsense. But look, you can see it there. Again, number 20. I was scared and frightened at the time. I have never experienced anything like this before. What, an old woman 20 feet away with a megaphone? Have you never been on a protest, Sophie? I can't believe that she and others came and stood outside my home and targeted me and Sean like this. No one targeted you, Sophie. I know you want to be the victim, but it's clear to all of us. I think it's clear to all of us what is taking place. Sean Fielding is hiding behind your skirts.
His girlfriend. Well, hang on a minute. So Sophie is the partner of the leader of the Labour Party in Oldham.
The 27-year-old partner. The 27-year-old partner.
So yeah. I would expect anybody who's the leader of a council, especially a Labour Party, left wing, would have gone to marches, demonstrations, union events, and we would have seen megaphones on the street every day. I see
Yeah.
them in Manchester every day. You always see people outside the courts and everywhere with the megaphones, and people protesting. We live in a democracy. People are allowed to protest. People are allowed to.
Well, it gets worse,
exercise
Merv.
their
So
democratic right.
unfortunately, and this is serious. This is why I posted what I did. These people have, if they won the way they wanted to win, if they won, this would have had massive ramifications for this country, because it would have
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Doug is just telling me there were 5 there. So there were 5 coppers there, Dougie. Yeah. And of course the coppers, the best bit is,
and Debbie Barrett Cole. Yeah.
and the best
Really
bit
scary.
is, and the coppers got back in the car and drove off. Now, if she was causing harassment and intimidation, do you think the coppers would have got back in the car and driven off?
I can't stop laughing. Oh dear. Oh, this is hilarious. You just can't make it up.
Oh no, so it gets worse. This is where so that's Sophie Hallworth. And remember, Sophie Hallworth given a job by Andy Burnham, right?
Oh,
Don't think for 1 minute that Burnham has nothing to do with this. His fingerprints are all over this.
Let's be quite clear. The job she had at Oldham Council, what some of the staff tell me, and how.
Yeah,
and the
people
role
don't
she
know.
played
So
there
she worked at the school. She worked at a school, left the school, and the intelligence is then she got some sort of temporary job at Oldham Council. No one quite knows how she got this temporary job at Oldham Council. And then she went off to work for the mayor, yeah?
Yep, absolutely.
And no one knows how she's qualified to do her job for the mayor either.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Listen, let me show you something. And this is a serious bit. 27-year-old girlfriend. This young woman was 23 years old. That Sean Fielding's sidekick's mate helped killed. Because that's what the getaway driver of Dale Cregan did. His actions allowed for the murder of this 23-year-old police officer and her colleague, 32 years old. Sean Fielding has never distanced himself. In fact, he has encouraged and supported Arooj Shah's relationship with Dale Cregan's getaway driver.
Absolutely shocking. That was a shocking time and a sad moment for this borough. I mean, obviously, I was working in Manchester at the time. Deansgate, whilst the hearses was going past, was I've never seen Deansgate so full. People full of mourners, and I know even for the police, it was a very difficult time. And you could see that obviously there were police spotters and everything everywhere, all over the place. But also, actually, police from across the country came to Greater Manchester to relieve the Greater Manchester Police so that they could attend the funeral, whilst other people from other parts of the country could actually police our area. It is shocking.
And they stood up and applauded her relationship with Dale Cregan's getaway driver, who killed a 23-year-old female police officer from our town. Something that Sean Fielding, Jim McMahon has never distanced themselves from. And remember, when they all stood and applauded, at the town hall, at the council, the getaway driver then went on social media and identified a number of individuals he felt didn't clap enough.
Yep, enough. Some Labour councillors that didn't clap enough.
Yeah. So
shocking.
And these are the people: Sean Fielding, Arooj Shah, Abdul Jabbar, Jim McMahon, Debbie Abrams, Angela Rayner associate themselves with and refuse to distance themselves from. So here we go. This was Sean Fielding's statement, and I'm not going to bother with this, because it's long, But you can see he's now given a statement, to the council solicitor or whatever to write, And he's going on with himself. He's got 50 odd points, and he's put a statement in. But this is where it gets interesting. Sergeant Gartside. Remember Sergeant Gartside was the police officer that Sophie Hallworth makes reference to? At the police station, on the phone? He is clearly saying, first of all, that they were aware of the protest beforehand. So clearly the police were aware of the protest beforehand. And if the protest beforehand, if the police felt it was going to cause harassment or anything like that, they have powers. But they chose not to use those powers because legally we can protest. So he conducted a briefing in the evening of the 4th of November with neighbourhood police officers. he goes on about the process of how they try to go and get people away and all the rest of it. And he spoke to Miss Holworth that Debbie had left the vicinity. So you can see he's giving his detailed statement. This is a policeman giving his statement to the council, not to the police. This is the policeman giving a witness statement to the council. So sergeant, first of all, a sergeant gives his witness statement. Then we have another sergeant, Sergeant Archer, who was the idiot that turned up and tried to intimidate Debbie at her own house, and Debbie sent him packing with his hat. Now, what you can see, what's very clear, is, and anyone who watched that, and I've got it here, and I won't play it, I don't think, but I've got it here, and I can put it back up at some point. He is claiming in his statement, sorry, I'm just trying to zoom in at the right page. I told her that at the moment she had not broken any laws, if you look at number 24 and 25, and advised her again not to complete the course of conduct that would cause someone harassment. If anyone watched that interview, you can see how this police officer tries to intimidate Debbie into thinking that she has broken laws. You can see that's what took place. So, no, absolutely disgraceful policeman. What's his name? Sergeant Archer. So here's the second police officer giving a witness statement. So that's two police officers giving a witness statement for Oldham Council on behalf of Sophie Holworth to try and take out a court thing against an injunction against Debbie Cole. So that's just absolutely outrageous. And the poor woman, Zoe Clearmeyer, she had to attend court. She then had to attend court. She got that last Friday, right? She was due in court this Friday. The leader of the Oldham Council, the council's legal services had prepared all of this. They've gone and interviewed two police officers who suddenly find the time to be interviewed for this when, crimes go reported, as we've now found out, 80,000 in a year, and they're too busy to, and most of those, a significant number of those are against vulnerable people, as the Home Secretary has rightfully identified. And those things are ignored.
So right about this, Raj. The Labour leader of Oldham Council has been wasting police time for his own personal benefit, and he used it as his own personal.
Well, I think it's worse.
Kingdom.
I honestly think it's worse. I think the police are in the pockets of the politicians, because why are the police giving statements like this for an attempt to silence free speech? Because that's what this is. The right to protest is enshrined in our human rights. How was a disabled grandmother in any way intimidating? Did she make any threatening moves towards you, Sophie? Did she so much as even knock on the door? I don't even think Debbie knocked on the door. There's not even a reference to her even entering, her front garden or anything. These people, what's happened here, and again I'll say this, Sean Fielding, the leader of Oldham Council, is hiding behind his girlfriend's skirt.
No, I'm lost for words. Every week it gets more and more interesting. But I'm sure there's more.
I was hoping to get Debbie on, so let me just see where she is. I was hoping to get Debbie on, but she's not. She's not.
I think I should read out my. You should read out my thingy, my boxing report for anybody who might have missed it.
No, I'm not. You'll enjoy that. Debbie's trying to get on and saying my link isn't working, so let me just forward her that because it worked for you, didn't it?
Fine.
So,
whilst you do that, I'll just look through some of the comments and see if there's any that might want to pick up on. Paul Jarvis, Debbie's trying to call you. The link isn't working. Oh, yeah, you said that.
No, the link is working. Debbie's just it's the same link. It's the.
David Gidman, how does the saying go? Tail wagging the dog.
Honestly, I honestly think the police here are completely out of order. They are completely out of order because what the police have done here is demonstrated to the people of Oldham how they will do anything and everything possible to protect Sean Fielding and his girlfriend, even when it's a politically motivated action by Sean to use, you know, to trump up whatever happened to his girlfriend, or actually didn't happen to his girlfriend. But in the meantime, Greater Manchester Police, and I'll get to you next week properly, Greater Manchester Police, because I know you watch all of this. You're having a laugh, lads. You are sat dragging your feet, refusing to investigate Sean Fielding the way he should be. He should have been hauled in, arrested, thrown in a cell by now, and interviewed. The same for Arood Shah. You know what they've said to me? I need to prove them some evidence around that idiot Tayyar Mushtaq and the other guy, what's he called, Qasim Lenny. I've reported these people. It's not for me to do the investigating for the police. I've given them the evidence they have. They won't go and, you know why they won't go and question these people, Moyab? I'll tell you why I think they won't go and question them. Because it's not a can they want to open. Because one thing will link to another and link to another, and they will have to arrest Jim McMahon, MP for Oldham, over his role in the unlawful sale of Glodic baths days before an election. They'll have to arrest Debbie Abrahams for her fabrication and doctoring of evidence that they used to interview me and others. And they will have to interview Dr. Carolyn Wilkins, Paul Entwistle, Julie Bruce.
The fact is, Raj,
all of them.
An important point. Something you've said there is very important and it's quite pertinent. And it sort of manifests itself in terms of some of the things that Sean and Jim McMahon and Debbie Abrahams and Angela Rayner and everybody else, when they keep making these statements, complaining about people. Actually, when you sit down and making a statement on Facebook is easy. Making ridiculous claims on Facebook, on Twitter, and everything else is quite easy. Once you put it onto paper and formally complain about somebody and it's investigated, it doesn't hold water. Everything that they say doesn't add up. He makes allegations and makes statements and makes, linking random comments from malicious articles, and some of the things are actually just totally fabricated. And in my instance, I can just say some of the things were absolutely fabricated, and it was proven to be fabricated. That's why they're all thrown out. The man is just a scumbag. He's a scumbag.
I agree with it. Debbie, if you're listening to me, I'm not sure why this link isn't working. But Debbie, just give me a call, just phone, and we'll have you on the sound at the same time whilst Moyab and I are on. So just call, and I'll get you. Well,
can I just say something, Roger?
Yeah, of course you can.
And I'm quite happy to say on record too. During my time on the council and some of the people that I encountered from the opposition, and I mean some of the Labour leaders and the Tories as well as the Lib Dems, there were people of integrity. The people might have been from different parties. We might have had different political views and aspirations, but actually people treated each other with dignity. But since Jim McMahon became leader of this council, it's gone downhill, and Sean Fielding has just taken it.
He's taking the council to a council nowhere in the country has ever been. That's where Sean Fielding's took this council.
Absolutely. To be honest with you, I would never dare speak to another politician in the terms that I would speak about Sean Fielding now. I mean, the man is a scumbag. You just can't make it up. There's some other things I want to say. I see Anne Marie's used a word further up, which I don't want to repeat in case there's any kids watching. How much, Mark Kitchen? How much has this cost to us, council taxpayers? Absolute disgrace. Well,
it has, hasn't it? Because all of this has cost money because there were barristers in court on Friday. So Debbie had to go and get a barrister, and luckily she tried her hardest, and she was stressed all weekend and running around on Monday and Tuesday trying to get a barrister and working out whether she needed to pay it because we weren't sure whether she'd get legal aid. And she rocked up to court on Friday morning with a barrister. And the council had their barristers there, man. The council were there at the beck and call of Sophie Hallworth. They weren't there on behalf of the taxpayers of Oldham. When Oldham Council act, every time Oldham Council act, they are acting on behalf of the people of our town. And here,
this is
they are some private...
This is the Sophie Hallworth that works for the Crime and Police Commissioner, Andy Burnham.
Yeah, the Police and Crime
Commissioner. How she got that job when she moved from Oldham Council is something for another day.
Well, she sits, her job is with 14 to 19-year-olds in digital education. She does not come from an industry of digital education. She does not come from an industry of employer engagement. and she has no work experience of 14 to 19-year-olds. She was a primary school teacher. We all know what went on there. We all know what went on there.
Elaine Me, corrupt a lot of them. Right.
Yeah, so this is, this is what's happened. Absolutely, yeah. And of course, as Oldham has popped up and come along, of course. Of course.
Oh, well, I thought you was Oldham. I thought I was supposed to be Oldham. Oh
no, that's Will be. He's been sending messages to anyone and everyone saying, he can. But
idiots.
But in all seriousness,
hi mate.
In all seriousness, you've seen what's happened, and what's happened is that since we last were on, the Labour Party mayor of Liverpool has been arrested, along with a whole host of his associates.
Joe Anderson, Labour Party mayor of Liverpool, has been arrested. Joe Anderson for, get this, land transaction asset transfers. Does it ring a bell? Labour Party MP from London has been arrested. What's it for? To do with housing benefits and claiming housing benefits
and jumping up the housing register. Yeah.
Yep. So it seems like there seems to be a trait amongst these socialists, as I call them, champagne socialists. It's supposed to be one for a man of the people or a man or woman of the people, but they're all in it for themselves. Look at all these Labour politicians who have become rich. No, they become a politician, and instead of helping people, they become rich and start making money left, right, and centre. You think, hang on a minute, you're supposed to help. Jim
McMahon's expenses are hundreds of thousands of pounds every year. That's on top of his 80 or 90 grand salary and his pension. His expenses are hundreds of £1,000s a year. He claimed in travel expenses during COVID for a couple of months over £6,000. Where on earth was he going during lockdown when they were being paid to work from home, when Parliament was shut, for £6,000 worth of travel expenses? Debbie's joined us now as well, Maya, so I'm going to put Debbie up in a second.
Was he taking a helicopter ride to Derbyshire to join Sean the other week for a picnic?
Debbie, how are you doing? I don't know what happened with your link, Debbie, because it's the same link I've got.
I don't know, guys. I don't know.
But you're here, Debbie. Now. Debbie, we're going to shut up. You went to court on Friday. Tell us all what happened.
Yeah, tell us all about it.
I'm going to take myself off so you can be on the screen better with my up, and off you go.
It was one of the best experiences I've ever experienced. There's been two things this past week that I've never experienced. One, I've never been served papers, and two, I had to go to the county court in Manchester. The barristers with wigs on and everything. It was like one of the best experiences I've ever seen. And I do have to make a public apology. I am going to publicly apologise because I can understand how somebody, if they heard somebody saying this about them, I can understand how they would take it wrong. But you've got to understand that I got out of the car when I was doing a peaceful protest outside Sean Fielding's house, and a gentleman came walking down with the biggest long-haired black Alsatian you've ever seen. And my first instinct was, please don't eat me. So I immediately went up to the dog and went, hello, do you want to eat a Fielding?
Is that what you said? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
No, hold on. So, give me 1 second. Did you say that in your loudhailer? In your microphone?
No, I didn't say it in the megaphone.
Okay,
no,
so let me get this right, okay? Because I've seen the complaint, and it made reference to, even in jest you can't say these things. But Sophie Hallworth would never have heard you say that live. The only way they found out about that was from your own Facebook live broadcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Do you see that, Maya? Do you see how conniving they are?
These scumbags, all they try and do is make things up, make allegations up. But the problem is, everything that they say and do never stands up to scrutiny, and that's the difference. You can say anything you want, you can make allegations about anybody, you can say, you've been to the moon and back, but once you put it under the microscope and start scrutinizing it, they actually trip up themselves. These are the kind of people these are. So
at the event, at the court, you got barristers in wigs, yeah?
Yeah.
You've rocked up. You've had less than a week's notice, really, to find a barrister and all the rest of it, make sense of it. You ended up with a lovely man.
I had 4 days to get.
4 days.
I had 4 days because they delivered it on 7 o'clock at Friday night. I was served papers at 7 o'clock at night, and it was weekend. So I had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to get my solicitor, to get my barrister, to see if I can get legal aid to be represented. Otherwise, I would have had to represent myself in a county court when I've never been in a county court in my life.
Let me pause you for a second, because I think your experience is important, that everyone hears what you have to say. But I also think what's at least as important, Debbie, without disrespecting you, is the context of what is taking place here. Oldham Council served papers on an Oldham resident on a Friday to have you in court the following Friday because they believed you had harassed the girlfriend of Sean Fielding. Yeah. And to support their claims, they used your own live video that you put up on Facebook with "Do you want to eat a Fielding" or whatever, even though Sophie Holworth would never have heard that at the time. Okay. And then secondly, what they've also done, the council have done, is they've gone out and interviewed 2 police officers, got statements of 2 police officers. So the Greater Manchester Police would have to have been complicit in this. And of course they were complicit in this because they came round to your house and tried to intimidate you, because that's what took place at your house. You know, and what the policeman said at your house was to tell you not to go back. You had broken the law and all the rest of that. Yeah, and I've got I played it last week. Yeah. But he was wrong, wasn't he? He was wrong, wasn't he? And the council were wrong to serve with papers, because what happened, Debbie?
Well, they wanted to have an injunction on me so that I never ever go and do a protest outside Sean Fielding's house or anywhere on Kew Road.
It was worse than that, Debbie. I've seen the paperwork.
No, it was worse than that, because what they also wanted me to do, they wanted to shut me up on social media.
So because you protested outside his house, they claimed your harassment was so much of Sophie Holworth, that not only did they want an injunction against you of going onto Kew Road and protesting, they wanted to silence you from raising legitimate concerns about the grooming and gang rape of our town's children.
Yeah, they didn't. Well, the way that they worded it, they wanted me to. I was no longer allowed to comment on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'll be honest, I don't use Instagram.
No, I use YouTube. But I think that reference. So you know what they're trying to do as well, Debbie. They're trying to get to us. They see us as a collective. Yeah. But the disgraceful thing is, here is Oldham Council attempting to censor a member of the public from raising concerns and holding corrupt politicians to account. Yeah, because it's not just Sean Fielding you've raised issues on. He raised issues on Arood Shah. You've raised issues on Shahid Mushtaq, Abdul Jabbar, a whole host of them, Bashfirth. Yeah, and we've seen it. The people of our town have a right to hold these politicians to account and question them. The police sergeant, the first one, even acknowledges it in terms of your rights, under the European Human Rights Act. But you go to court, and what happens?
Well, he failed miserably.
So the consequence is, you shouldn't protest with a microphone, because it could be considered as.
I'm not allowed to protest outside Sean Fielding's house or on Kew Road with a megaphone. And
you're not allowed to even in jest make references like, "Would you like to eat a Fielding?" Yeah.
No, I'm not allowed to any violence or.
So that's what's happened. People of Oldham, and I'll tell you how much was spent. Tens of thousands of pounds was spent on this. Tens of thousands of pounds has been spent on getting to an outcome.
I'm really sorry. You've all paid for me to go to court. He's used your money. Sean Fielding and Oldham Council have used your money to try and stop me from doing a peaceful protest, and they've tried to shut me up. And I apologise to the people of Oldham for your council tax money being used in that way. Even though I instigate it, I apologise.
And what happened was, right? So what's happened is that the outcome is the injunction or whatever you've signed up to and agreed to is you won't use a microphone, and you won't say anything derogatory in terms of but you have every right. So this is the thing, it's backfired on them. By going to the court, it's been confirmed. It's not just you. Anybody has a right to protest, and they have a right to peacefully protest outside his house, and it's got bugger all to do with the police. If you're protesting outside his house, peacefully protesting outside his house, I've seen your barrister's letter, and that's the interpretation of your barrister's notes, and he's written it out. Yeah. You can return there and peacefully protest. Is that right?
That is 100% right. Sean Fielding and Oldham Council have failed to stop me from protesting. And can I just say that this Wednesday, it is a full council meeting. So at 6 o'clock, I can confirm that I will be peacefully protesting outside 105 Kew Road.
So you will be going outside 105, outside his house at the time of this council meeting. And you know what, Debbie? I'm guessing, and I can only guess here. I'm guessing that I don't think he will be alone in protesting outside his house, because what these council have done.
Oldham are absolutely appalled, like I've been. I've been appalled this week with the behaviour of what they've tried to do. They've literally tried, and if they would have won,
if they would have won, it would have changed democracy in this country.
Big time.
Yeah.
Well, clearly the judges and the judge didn't see that way and actually values our democracy. I just wanted to go through some of the quick questions, comments on here. Well, if you've got a second, Raj.
Yeah, maybe you go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. Lynn Kovacs, we're all behind you, Debbie. Oldham Eye. Don't forget to mention that Willoughby's.
I'm not interested in that for now, Mike. I'll get to that. I'm not interested.
All right, don't worry.
We'll get to that.
Wouldn't be the first time GMP and political parties have tried to silence members. I'm trying to think. Marcus M's, nothing to apologise for, Debbie. So there you go, Debbie. You've got people in there. And Jane Farley says the same thing. Ollie and Maria, Debbie, you must scare the I won't say use that word. You must scare the bleep out of them. Right, I won't use that word. Lee Burley.
So now I must scare the ripped
Lee Burley, so now he's lost. Are the councillors now going to dismiss Fielding for use of taxpayers' money?
No, of course they're not. Okay, listen, it's fine. Listen, what's very clear, is people are outraged. You can see people are outraged, and people are outraged for a very simple reason. One is, this was a private matter. If Sophie Holworth felt intimidated and harassed,
civil matter,
right? It was and Sean Fielding should have done this on behalf of his girlfriend and used their own money, but they didn't, right? Yeah. They manipulated the council. They used the council. Remember, he sent unlawful, malicious communications out on council letter-headed paper, referencing all of us, and
including me.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean, Debbie, referencing all of us, right? And he treats this as his own, something of his own personal. To use the council as he sees fit for his personal benefit. Now, this is absolutely disgraceful. Now, what's took place here is not only have they failed, what they've now done, what this council has now done through its actions, and the police, is shown that Sean Fielding is protected by the police, is protected by the council, and the police are at the beck and call, and the council will mobilise every single one of its resources to protect a corrupt administration, the leader of a corrupt administration. You know why they'll do that, Debbie? The reason why Bentwhistle and Dr. Carolyn Wilkins, and without their say-so, this would never have happened, by the way. Without the chief executive would have had to sign this off, Moab, or the legal, the borough solicitor would have to sign this off. Without their active involvement, none of this would have happened. And they're actively involved because they're bent, because they're corrupt, because they've allowed for dodgy stuff to take place on their watch. Bentwhistle and Dr. Carolyn Wilkins allowed for the sale of Glodic baths. Bentwhistle and Dr. Carolyn Wilkins were in their jobs when Rod Blythe did all his stuff. Bentwhistle and Dr. Carolyn Wilkins were there with Shabir Ahmed and the hiding of Shabir Ahmed and Daddy and the, you know, and now what you're finding is Bentwhistle and Dr. Carolyn Wilkins and the rest of the council were there, and I guarantee that the files put in front of the CPS by Greater Manchester Police will show that the council were aware of the rape of these children and they failed them.
And to this day, they've still not contacted Sam.
Well, you know, that young woman, I'm afraid, as you know, I'm limited what I'll do with that young woman, I'm afraid, because if you wanna associate yourself with Dale Cregan's getaway driver, then I'm afraid I'm not gonna have anything to do with you. So that's as simple as that, because you know that this man has threatened me and my family and my daughter, and if you want to go and associate yourself with him, that's entirely up to you. So that's of her own choosing, I'm afraid, Debbie. Now, what you've got here is a council, once again, that is out of control and so far away from the people of the town. It's absolutely disgraceful. And I'm looking at the comments, Moab, and I can see you can see the comments. And what happened, Moab? What happened with all of this is at the same time, and this is where the Oldham eye thing came on, is at the same time as this was going on, Fielding mobilised, because you can see what Willoughby's comments were, yeah? That malicious blogger. Fielding mobilised Willoughby's because Willoughby's makes reference to how he regularly chats to Fielding, you know, and he mobilised him to try and make all of this seem as though we were in the wrong, you know, and he called our cause a futile quest or a futile cause. You know what? It's my town. It's your town. It's our town.
Yeah.
These are our children. These are our children. And even if it was futile, we know how powerful Sean Fielding is. We know how corrupt the council is. We know how GMP have been proven to have covered up and failed the grooming and gang rape of white working class girls. They've admitted it. Look what they admitted in Manchester. They admitted to being told, senior officers telling frontline officers to go and find some white abusers instead of the Asian ones. You know, we know what the police have done. And here, and I don't want to criticise the police, but unfortunately, what you've got in Greater Manchester is that the police are controlled by Andy Burnham, and Andy Burnham is Sean Fielding's mate, and Andy Burnham has given Sophie Holworth a job that she isn't even qualified for.
Oh, you can't make it up. You can't, honestly, you can't make all this up. You know, when I was a little kid, I used to read Roy of the Rovers.
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
You know, you'd read your little cartoons like Roy of the Rovers and Asterix and Obelix and all the rest of the rigmarole. And all these stories you think are all in fantasy land, but here in Oldham, it's reality.
It really is. It really is. It's absolutely ridiculous, guys, because, you know, all we wanted to do is have open and transparent. We've not had that, have we?
What's your intention? What's your intention, Debbie? Is your intention to go and protest outside Sean Fielding's house on whenever this next council meeting is? Is it Wednesday? Yep.
Yeah, Wednesday, 6 o'clock. Yeah, I've got flyers. So I will need some volunteers actually, because I'm allowed to put flyers through every one of his neighbours' door, which I've got the flyers to do. So this is you asking for volunteers. You're asking for support. Of course, socially distanced and COVID compliant and all of those things. Yeah. But you're asking for people to support you in your protest outside Sean Fielding's house this Wednesday. And you're asking for people to support you in your peaceful protest and to help you deliver leaflets and all of those things. So that's, we have hundreds of people. And I'm not allowed to record myself.
Debbie, I'm thinking you don't need a megaphone. You're not allowed to record yourself.
No, I can't. I can't go live on Oldham Together. I'm not stopping anybody else from going live on Oldham Together.
So they're stopping. So they're stopping you from broadcasting live onto the internet.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. Can you? I know the council didn't get what they wanted. And I know you left and you can still have the right to protest, but these conditions are outrageous. These aren't conditions of a Western liberal democracy. These are conditions of a dictatorship. You're not allowed to share with the people of the town. Yeah? Why? I don't need an answer off you. It's just unbelievable. You know, and again, this is Paul Bentwhistle, the borough solicitor. This is Dr. Carolyn Wilkins, because the councillors can't approve this type of action and behaviour and appointing lawyers and stuff. It's got to be approved by the council officers. This is Dr. Carolyn Wilkins. This is Paul Bentwhistle, borough solicitor. These are the ones who are sat on their hands, proven to have been involved now in covering up Barrelgate Bashforth and his bootlegging.
Oh, dear. Hey, Debbie, after you won, did you celebrate with a Moe Shandon or a Barrel Cobra?
No, but what I did want to do is do a drive by Sean Fielding's house, bipping my car on. I'll see you on Wednesday, kid.
I don't think the council understand the ramifications of their actions. They've put themselves up against the people of the town, thousands of us, tens of thousands of us, who object to the grooming and gang rape of our children. Because that's what's fundamentally it is. And he might say unsubstantiated. He might say barefaced lies. You know, they might say there's no evidence. But we all know it's not true. We all know that Jim McMahon is neck deep in it through his emails that we've seen of using the funeral of a butchered soldier to hide from parents the news of a grooming gang. We've heard from the testimony of Hughie MacDonald, a 37-year magistrate, of how he was hounded out of the council because he raised concerns of these shisha bars. We've heard from Kaiser Rahman, who I don't get on with at the moment, but we've heard from him how his witness statement was altered by Andy Burnham's team. We've heard from victims who've come, repeated victims. We've got a dossier which Debbie Kashmir is running away from. While she's happy to scream and shout about human rights for Kashmir, she's refusing to comment on the systematic grooming and gang rape of children from Counthill School. These aren't fabrications, because if they were fabrications, I would have been arrested by now. These are truths. These are truths that the Assistant Chief Constable has now confirmed that they are progressing cases. That means they put files, and he said that he's put files in front of the CPS. Now, these files in front of the CPS, wanting the CPS to take action, has only come about because of our campaign.
That's right.
Maya Victor wants to know why it wasn't in the newspaper about Debbie. Why Charlotte Green not reported it?
Oh, well. Our democracy reporter who was paid for by the taxpayer via the BBC.
Reported it either.
Shocking. It's. I mean, what they're doing about Barrelgate? Are they investigating that as quickly?
No. So they've done nothing about Barrelgate. The police have got in touch with me and are playing silly buggers with me about my complaint. I spoke with Jane Barker this week, and she's waited over 2 months. For a statement to be put in front of her to be signed. Mark Wilkinson, he posts all the time. He'll tell you he's mithered them and mithered them. Moya, they came and took your statement recently. The police are intentionally, as far as I'm concerned, dragging their heels in investigating Sean Fielding. And look at what they did with Debbie Cole. Look how quickly they turned her.
I'll guarantee you now that I've announced that I'm going to be there 6 o'clock on Wednesday, that the police will be there before me.
Are the police some private security firm for the cartels? Is that what we're seeing now? The police are running private security for paedophile protectors and the cartels. What are we seeing now? Someone
guarantee
needs to get a grip at Greater Manchester
I'm
Police.
gobsmacked.
Someone needs to get a grip, because I know I have police officer friends. I'm sure both of you have police officer friends. Debbie, you've mentioned in the past that your family members are police officers. I
family
know
members, yeah.
the rank and file of Greater Manchester Police are outraged that they are protecting Dale Cregan's getaway driver. They are outraged.
Absolutely.
They are protecting the sidekick of an Oldham police officer's murderer. They are outraged that they have been told they can't go and investigate grooming gangs for fear of community relations, when we now all know it's got nothing to do with community relations.
They're not outraged the fact that they put my face, they've taken photographs from my personal Facebook and shared that with at least 18 Muslim groups. They're not outraged that they've taken my image and put me all over the internet in sex groups.
After referencing you as a far right activist, this is an incitement to your murder. This,
I'm a far right racist criminal.
Debbie,
You're not outraged about that.
this is an incitement to your murder that the police are refusing to investigate. I have shared with Greater Manchester Police.
I've not heard anything from Sergeant Day, and I messaged him weeks ago.
I have repeatedly communicated with the police of how referencing me as a gay Christian convert is the phrase that a jihadist would use. That's in my professional opinion, and I spent 20 years of my life protecting this country from terrorists. So I have an understanding of this, right?
Yeah.
I have said that I consider Qasim Lenny to be an Islamist, to be a jihadist, and I want him investigated for what he referenced to me, because he's trying to get Islamists to murder me. They've not even gone and questioned him, and yet here we are. They visit your house. They visit your house, and they've got the time to give statements, right, for what is effectively a private prosecution that they failed on, because you will be there on Wednesday.
Yeah, I will. With a bell.
No, Debbie, don't go to the bell, because I think what's very clear to me is they will use any excuse they can to try and have you arrested. I think that's very clear. If you took any advice from me, it would be go with your leaflets, post them through people's letterboxes. If other people turn up to help you, that's other people's prerogative, and you have a right to protest, because the court has confirmed you have a right to protest outside his house, as does any one of us.
Yeah.
Every one of us has a right to protest outside the houses of our elected leaders.
It's your democratic right. You've got your democratic right to protest, to peaceful protest. People were doing it in Manchester yesterday. They were protesting in Manchester yesterday. There were no police arrests that I'm aware of.
This was an attempt to silence dissent. This was an attempt to send a message to all of us that they have the police in their pockets, and now they have the courts in their pockets. Unfortunately, so far, the judges aren't in their pockets. That's very clear. The judges aren't in the pockets, or they're not in the pockets the way they would want them to be. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace that in a liberal Western democracy, this is taking place, and that these people, come on lads, come on girls, come on guys, give it up. You've been hiding these paedophiles and now you've been caught out. Just do the right thing. It's never too late to do the right thing. Do the right thing. Sack Bentwhistle, suspend Bentwhistle because he's bent. Get rid of Bashforth. Give him a barrel of beer or something to, and give him all the... In fact, Moya, give him the tap so he can drink the barrel of beer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wilkins has gone anyway. She's 1 day a week, distant learning or whatever it is, and earning £250,000 from us. This council is bent. This council is not fit for purpose. And this council, led by Sean Fielding, with the active involvement of the 3 MPs, has dragged this town into the darkest place possible. And we are going to end up being nothing more than a case study in history of this country, of what goes wrong when the cartels take over. Anything else, guys, before I move on? Because I'll let you go.
MPs have dragged this town.
Nope, nothing else from me.
Darkest place possible.
I'm waiting for the rest of the show. I'm sure there'll be some interesting news on.
I've got loads more. So thank you, guys. I'll let you get on and I'll carry on. Yeah.
No worries.
If people,
Thanks a lot, guys.
if people do want to come along and peacefully protest and help me to deliver some leaflets on Wednesday and show support and solidarity that we have our democratic right to peaceful protest, please do come along. If anybody wants the address, inbox me and I'll give you the postcode for your sat nav.
Thank you very, very much.
Here, but all I will say to Mr. Fielding is, I know you're watching this program. I hope you're having your evening tea in peace.
He'll be having a sophisticated pale ale or something if you go office. He likes to be an ale drinker.
I'll tell you what, pal. I ain't going anywhere, and I'll be facing up to you wherever you want to be, in court, in a tribunal, in front of the Lib Dems, anywhere. I will be there. Watch your back.
Cheers, Merv. Bye. Debbie,
and I'll see you on Wednesday, Sean.
Well, there you have it. That is Moya Buddin not have been investigated on the 10th at a hearing because the Liberal Democrats have agreed with him that a police investigation takes precedence. You're being investigated, ain't you, Sean? You're going to be in prison, Sean. The people of this town are going to see you in prison. And as for Debbie Cole, I really think you've messed with the wrong woman, mate, because she's not one for giving up, is she? I think she embodies everything about this town and the people of this town. Absolute disgrace that Oldham Council have tried what they have done, but it's spectacularly backfired on them. Another spectacular backfire, because what you now have is Debbie Cole has confirmed that she will be attending Kew Road at the time of the council meeting to peacefully protest, as is a democratic right, as confirmed by the courts of this land. Just give me a second, I'll be back.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Okay, so let's head on. This guy, Assistant Chief Constable Abs Hussain, okay, he issued a statement this week, and it was interesting. Is our mate Charlotte, whatever her name is, Charlotte Green? Is it Charlotte Green? Have I made that up? Our local democracy reporter went for it, yeah, and she was, she presented a story that's very different from the actually what really took place. So let me try and bring this up and see if we can get this up. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So people can see that? Yeah, they can see that. Okay. Charlotte Green, local democracy reporter. And I picked it up from the Saddleworth Independent. So she's made the Saddleworth Independent as Ms. Green. GMP confirm CSE investigations in Oldham will be progressed ahead of review publication. Now, what you've got to understand happened here is that the convicted sex offender's mate, Rod Blythe's mate, Sykes, Howard Sykes, who was also confirmed he was a friend of Cyril Smith, the prolific paedophile. When he refused to support Brian Hoban, tried to play a bit of politics, and he went running to the police with a letter. And he went running to the police with a letter, and he wanted the police to confirm that they would, take the findings of the council or whatever it's called, the Ridgeway, the Burnham's investigation seriously. Now, what the police did, what Mavs was saying is, it was hilarious. I think it was hilarious. He's just, Councillor Sykes, I'll just highlight this a bit, had written to, there you go, Councillor Sykes had written to ACC Hussain asking for confirmation that if evidence of CSE was identified in the review, that the force would relentlessly investigate any allegations, either historical, I can't even pronounce that word, or now, I think what that second word means. The problem is, the police are the police. Why would the police wait for a council report to investigate crimes? So he's responded, and he's told them to get stuffed, basically, is what he's done. You've got to see the code in this, but he's responded and said, the safeguarding of vulnerable victims was treated as a priority. So that means we're not waiting for your damn report. And this involved ensuring that any criminality that was identified past or present was investigated, and were the evidence allowed, these have been placed before the Crown Prosecution Service for consideration. So there you go. That's confirmation that there are files in front of the Crown Prosecution Service. And this is another dig at the council. The GMP investigation has not been limited by parameters. Remember the criticism of Burnham's time-limited 2013 to 2016, whatever nonsense, where the council set the time frame. And so not only is it not limited by parameters, Assistant Chief Constable Hussein is saying their investigation has increased throughout the duration of the inquiries. So as they found out more, they've gone and found out even more. Right? So they've gone out, found out more and more and more. And then there's more. You see, due to this, GMP broadened the scope of the investigation to include any and all allegations of criminality. So we'll find out what that means, because what Sean Fielding is claiming is that I am being investigated by Operation Hexagon. Now, I know I'm not a sex offender, and I'd like to think the people of the town have got a good understanding or a gauge of what a sex offender might be or might not be, and I know I'm not one of them. So what else is Operation Hexagon investigating? Is it investigating the councillors that helped cover this up? Is it investigating the failures of council officers who turned a blind eye? What is Operation Hexagon investigating? Because let's face it, the police are in a mess. The police are in a massive mess, and they're in a massive mess not because of what I've said. They're in a massive mess. But Greater Manchester Police are in a massive mess because this week this happened. The Home Secretary wrote to Andy Burnham. Now, Andy Burnham is trying to distance himself from what's taking place, but he is the Police and Crime Commissioner. You all pay him to be the Police and Crime Commissioner out of your council taxes. Dear Chief Constable and Mayor of Greater Manchester, you can see that from the Home Office, from the Home Secretary herself. And look what happened. Serious failings to record crime and therefore treat victims as they should be treated. And the headlines were 800,000 in a year. Or was it 80,000? 80,000 in a year. 80,000 in a year. So, and when Burnham took over, it was 40,000 in a year. So they've doubled under Burnham. And of course he responds, like the politician is, he responds by saying the Home Secretary failed to recognise the successes that police forces achieve. Even if you listed every success, 80,000 crimes, failing to register them, 80,000 a year. And of course, both the Home Secretary references it, and then this guy, Chris Green, references it. the MP for Bolton, yeah. Just have a look at that letter. 80,000 reported crimes are not being recorded, a situation that the inspectorate described as wholly unacceptable. And this is the worst bit, with a conclusion that Greater Manchester Police is failing to protect the victims of those crimes and is denying justice to some of the most vulnerable in society. So the ones it's letting down are the most vulnerable in our society. That's from the MP. And this from earlier on in the year. Burnham vows to hunt down child sex predators in Oldham. Anyone believe him? Anyone believe him? When now we know that if he hunts down the child sex predators in Oldham, then he puts at risk his mate Sean Fielding, his mate Debbie Abrahams, Jim McMahon, all the Oldham council officers that sit on his various boards. Let me show you something else. This week, in Kirklees, 32 men charged with sex abuse of 8 girls. The crimes, they go back to 1999. The girls were between 13 and 16 at the time. Kirklees, Bradford and Wakefield. They're due to appear in court as we speak. They're due to appear in court. But have a look at this. This has gone on for years in Kirklees and people have been campaigning and campaigning and campaigning. We've not got to this point overnight. In 2018, Kirklees Council, an inquiry found after 20 men were jailed that the council had, and I quote this, sufficient evidence. So the council had sufficient evidence. Have a look at this video from the time.
And jailed for crimes against more than a dozen vulnerable teenage girls. These were the men who groomed them and then abused them. And today, for the first time, it can be reported, and the scale of their offending can finally come to light. One of the survivors of that abuse agreed to speak to ITV News alongside her mother, and she told me how she was targeted as a shy 13-year-old schoolgirl.
How did it make you feel? Did they make you feel special?
At first, yeah. And then it would just like, I'd just get passed around, just get made feel so small.
What are your thoughts about the men who could do that to a 13-year-old girl?
It's vile. I don't know, I can't really describe them any other way.
The crimes took place in Huddersfield and in the remote moorlands surrounding the town. Police today paid tribute to the victims who came forward to give evidence in court.
That's taken nearly a year to conclude, having to bravely repeat their accounts and in some cases several times over. I cannot praise them enough for their courage and tenacity in helping secure justice.
These trials are the latest in a series of convictions of grooming gangs across the country. In Rotherham, it's thought that more than 1,500 victims were abused over a 16-year period. In Oxford, there were 373. In Rochdale, 47 girls were abused. And in Newcastle, the estimate is 700 victims. This victim told me her first complaint to police of her ordeal was lost and ignored. Unlike some others, she had a loving family and a stable home life, but parents who had no idea what was happening when she went out.
At the time, I didn't actually believe that anything like that would happen within my family. I didn't even understand that that type of thing was going on.
Is this the problem, that you simply didn't know that this kind of thing even happened?
Definitely. I didn't have any idea. Even today, I can't understand how anybody can inflict such cruelty on another person.
So Huddersfield becomes the latest town to learn the scale of abuse inflicted on its young girls, and from one mother whose love has helped rebuild her family, a warning to those who think it couldn't happen to them.
It can happen to anybody. It's not, it doesn't matter what type of life you have. It doesn't matter if you're parents, if you're in a single parent family, or it can happen to absolutely anybody.
At the end of the first trial here, the judge told the guilty men, the way you treated these girls defies understanding. This abuse was vile and wicked. And he went on to say, none of you expressed any remorse for what you did. By contrast, that young woman I spoke to this afternoon showed enormous courage throughout. She promised me she's going to carry on speaking out and will do whatever it takes to save even one girl from being exposed to the kind of abuse she suffered.
There you go. That's what happened in Kirklees in 2018. The official report confirmed the council's children's services had sufficient evidence. And now 32 further men have been charged with crimes dating back to 1999. And meanwhile in Oldham, where Shabir Ahmed was employed by the council.
That's right, yeah, I got an agenda, and it's your money that I'm gonna spend, yeah. I'm not real, well, I guess it depends where you're at now and how it was that you got there. And when I get around to giving my reply, they'll be sugar-coated, overloaded, super-loaded, bare-faced lies.
The third thing was the barefaced lies stuff. I have responded to a similar question to a number of people via email a number of months ago, but I note that my comments do not make it onto the social media pages of those individuals because sadly they don't fit the narrative that is trying to be presented. So I'll just read out what I said last time. So the transcript of what I said at the meeting was, over the last few months, there have been daily postings on social media about planning and historic planning in terms of, planning building consents and historic safeguarding incidents, the two of which are, as you will appreciate, are completely unrelated. These allegations have been combined with a series of online personal attacks on councillors, residents, MPs and council officers, and often come from people with a clear political agenda. Too often, however, the allegations and claims made online are barefaced lies. The response to the question can be found online in the recording of the meeting where that took place. And you can see that I said that too often the claims online are barefaced lies. Too often qualifies the remark that... That's right.
So he claims too often qualified the remark. What he forgets is the letter he sent, when his council sent out letters to victims. This was his headline. Yeah, he has his picture. That's, council leader blasts sickening people for making up child sex abuse allegations. Now, if this headline by his mate Charlotte Green was inaccurate, he should have come out and condemned the newspaper for giving misleading headlines at a very sensitive time. But remember, this is the man, when he was forced to announce his inquiry, had his girlfriend hold up his ripped underpants whilst he shared a sexual fantasy on social media. And for those who doubted his quantifying what took place, this is what he actually said. He's trying to weasel his way out. Yes, Nicola Davis, you've just popped up. He's lying. He's absolutely lying. Listen to this is what he really said at the council meeting.
I got an agenda, and it's your money that I'm gonna spend, yeah. I'm not real, well, I guess it depends where you're at now and how it was that you got there. And when I get around to giving my reply, they'll be sugar-coated, overloaded, super-loaded, bare-faced lies.
Over the last few months, there have been daily postings on social media about planning and historic safeguarding incidents. These allegations have been combined with a series of personal online attacks on councillors, residents, MPs and council officers, and often come from people with a clear political agenda
such as the former Liberal Democrat deputy leader of Oldham Council stood before us. We will always take action where appropriate, including the recently announced review into historic safeguarding led by Dr. Mark Peel. Too often, however, the allegations and claims made online are barefaced lies.
Do you see that? I'm hoping you can hear me this time. Do you see that? How we omitted the sentence linked to the grooming inquiry that he'd launched, or he'd been forced to launch. And he's trying to say too often was linked to other issues now. You're a liar, aren't you, Sean? You've been caught red-handed, haven't you, Sean? Who do the people of Oldham believe? Do the people of Oldham believe what he said? That the too often quantified it and he meant it wasn't in reference to the grooming and gang rape of our children? Anyone?
Designed purely to... I'll say that again, are barefaced lies. Designed...
That's right, yeah, I got an agenda. And it's your money that I'm gonna spend, yeah. I'm not real, well, I guess it depends.
There you go. Do you see that? Caught red-handed. I know I've shared that before, but I think it's worth always repeating and sharing this so you can make your own decisions on this. It's clear what he was referencing when he was talking about barefaced lies. Now, the question really is, why? Why is a councillor who was not around at the time that Shabir Ahmed was working in the council and grooming and gang raping children from our town and selling them to his customers? Why is he defending him and why is he trying to hide him? Now this is where it gets interesting. Let me put this desktop up. Why am I sharing with you a list of governors at the Co-op Academy Failsworth? So this is the list of the current governors. And you've seen a series of names there. And then some past governors. Okay, so you can see the names there. Sean Fielding's name does not appear on that list anywhere. And then this, if I can find it, just give me 1 second, is a screen grab from Sean Fielding's Facebook page today. His description. Go and click on it if you want to see it. You'll see it's there today. As well as being a councillor, I am a member of the governing body at Cooperative Academy Failsworth. So why is Sean Fielding's name not on the governing body list here? Past or present, his name isn't there. Whilst he's got it up there on his Facebook page. Now, I'm not in the business of making allegations. And when I raise concerns, nor am I in the business of exaggerating or falsifying concerns. 2 weeks ago, I raised with you serious concerns of a senior Oldham politician heading off to Dubai and partying with gangsters who, if they returned to the UK, would be arrested. You'll see no one from Oldham Council has said anything. No one from Jim McMahon or Debbie Abrahams' office has said anything, because what I raised is true. Just as I did with Bashworth. Now, what if I told you that these are the concerns I have with Sean Fielding specifically, and Failsworth, Co-op Failsworth Academy. My understanding is that there was an investigation at the Co-op Academy in Failsworth, and I think it was, from what I understand, it involved one of its teachers. Now, have a look at me. I'm not, and I have some fun and banter on this transmission, but there are times when I'm deadly serious. Now, you already know, people have already know, or Failsworth already know, but none of us have been able to get a statement out of the council regarding the convicted paedophile, is it Peter Brown his name was, who was at South Failsworth Primary School, who was caught and convicted, and the council won't tell the people of Oldham which other schools, because he was a supply teacher, which other schools in Oldham this guy worked in. They won't tell us why the Hollingwood councillor, is it Martin Judd, I think his name was, has run away and disappeared and has just been wiped from record at Oldham Council. I understand he was also a governor at Lyndhurst Primary School. And now Sean Fielding's name has mysteriously disappeared from a school, but my information is had to investigate a teacher and their relationship with at least one minor. What do you guys make of that? Yes, Nicola. Sorry, I'll put you up again, Nicola. It is bloody scary. Now, I don't want to alarm you, but I think in an open and transparent council, they don't need people like me to raise these concerns. They would be answering these issues as and when it came to them. Why won't Sean Fielding, because he was a Labour councillor, issue a statement on what's gone on with Martin Judd, Councillor Martin Judd? Before Co-op Academy was before it was Failsworth Co-op Academy, it was just Failsworth School, wasn't it? It was their children. You're just a bunch of cover-up merchants. No wonder you hid Rod Blythe. I honestly think there should be a public document of every councillor who sits on the governing body of a school. A centrally held document published in Oldham Council. We know how paedophiles operate, don't we? We've seen it with the Scouts, we've seen it with the church. Sex offenders, people who are attracted to our children, who abuse our children, manipulate themselves into positions of trust where they can access our children. Which schools was Rod Blythe a governor of? Why have you sacked, or why has Martin Judd disappeared? He was a governor of Lyndhurst, wasn't he? I've not made that up. What went on at Failsworth School, or now whatever it's called, the Co-op Academy Failsworth? And remember, I have a dossier of evidence here. I know the council have it as well because it's got the council's letter-headed correspondence all over it. Of the grooming and gang rape, the systematic grooming and gang rape of white working class girls from outside Counthill School. There's a council meeting on Wednesday. Here it is, Wednesday the 16th of December at 6 p.m. We've had Debbie on, we've had Moib on. And what I'd urge every one of you is if you decide, I mean, I'll be watching it online like I always watch it online. But I'd urge every one of you, if you decide to go and protest or in any way be involved with Debbie, please do it peacefully. Don't give these people an excuse. Because they are desperately looking for excuses to distract and divert attention from their own dubious and, dare I say, criminal behaviour. We're close now. The police have confirmed that there is a file with the CPS. Fielding and Oldham Council have failed, and in fact it's backfired, where now the people of Oldham know that they have a right to legally protest and they can protest outside his house. And the police find themselves in a difficult position, not just because of us, but because the eyes of the country are on them. The Home Secretary has written to them, concerned about what's taking place, particularly around victims, vulnerable victims. Andy Burnham knew what she was referring to because he responded by raising the issue of CSE in his response to her. The Home Secretary knows what's going on in Oldham. She knows what these councillors have been up to. She knows what these council officials have been up to. The police, once again, I urged the Greater Manchester Police to do their jobs, arrest the jihadist, protect Debbie Cole, whose face has been plastered over a whole host of Islamist web pages and Facebook groups. I'm sorry, Brian. It seems that way, doesn't it? And Paul, you're right. The council is in a complete meltdown. Right. I'm done. I'm done for another week. I will be back. I think I'll try and be back next week. I have my own issues I'm afraid I need to deal with involving a court case that I've got to go and give evidence for. So I think that's coming up. So I've got to deal with that. So, but I will try and be back next Sunday for I think what will be the last of these transmissions before Christmas. So that's where we're up to. Again, please, the only way these transmissions happen and I can make the time for them and I've got the resources for them is if you help me. And the way you guys help me is share these stories, share these posts. But if you can, sign up to be a supporter on Facebook or buy me a coffee using the link. Without the support, I can't keep going. So that's what we're up to, and that's some honesty. Thank you very much. Thank you to Debbie and Moyab, and thank you to all of you who don't care about these people and aren't scared of them. Good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.